I'm Scott L. Miller. It's the 9th of June, 2022. It is Thursday, and welcome to my vlog of daily life in Nicaragua. Being the 9th, that means we are at 13 days and counting down until Yvonne and I are heading off to Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. Very much looking forward to that. It's very exciting, and it means we are about 3.5 weeks until Brian is arriving in Costa Rica from Dallas, and we're going to be heading, it looks like first into Nicaragua. I'm hoping we're going to do some like Ometepe and stuff, which is going to be lots of fun. I've not shown Ometepe on the show. I have not been there in 7 years, so I miss it, and it's a really fun experience, so I'm hoping we do that. And I know we're planning on heading out to the Corn Islands, which I've never done, and that should be a lot of fun. I have not been on a Caribbean island, I don't think, ever. I've been to the Caribbean, but never out on an island, so that's a pretty cool experience. And I don't know if we're gonna hit one or both Corn Islands, but that should be cool. Those are the main Caribbean islands of Nicaragua. And then we're going to hit León, Las Piñatas. I don't know if we're going to do anything more in Nicaragua. Those are three pretty big things. And then the plan is we're taking the whole family. We're heading to Costa Rica and spending a few days doing the Costa Rican, very touristy, non-beach experience, because there's a lot of the beaches in Costa Rica, obviously very, very popular for good reason, right? It's a wonderful beach destination, and they have a lot of Caribbean and a lot of Pacific, but we're going to be doing Nicaraguan Caribbean, we're going to be doing Nicaraguan Pacific for sure, and then also Nicaraguan Lake most likely. So more beach is probably not what is going to really be looking for, but the thing that you can kind of do in Costa Rica more than almost anywhere else, and not very much in Nicaragua, is the very outdoorsy, ecotourism, adventure-y kind of stuff. So that Brian wants to do, and the kids have been wanting to do when we were in Costa Rica about a month ago, especially Luciana, but both girls were seeing all the ads, obviously, of things to do in Costa Rica, and Luciana's like, well, I really want to do this stuff. Look, like zip lining, I want to do that. And going up into the mountains and doing the jungle walks and going to see sloths or whatever, I want to do that. And like waterfalls, and it's like all these really cool looking outdoor activities out in nature in Costa Rica, where that's really Costa Rica's claim to fame. Some of that stuff, right? We're gonna get out, get some exercise, get some fresh air, and do some really fun, exciting stuff. And I hope that stuff's gonna be awesome on video, because I've not gotten to do that stuff in Costa Rica, right? So I think it's gonna be really fun. So the amount that I'm looking forward to getting a break from all the normal day-to-day stuff and being able to get out and do some awesome filming, to do some awesome kind of vacation-y stuff, I need it. So today, if you watched the show yesterday, first of all, if you haven't, pause this, go open that in another window and watch yesterday's episode, right? But everything worked out okay. Paul is fine. He's home, as you know, because he was on the episode yesterday. But everything's going really well today. Unfortunately, my friend Ava, who has been on the show in the past, if you see the Corinto episode, her grandmother is currently in the hospital and not doing well up in Chinandega. So we're just having one healthcare thing after another for somebody for the last week or so. It just seems really dramatic. Hopefully this is the end of that, right? Things come in threes, I guess. So Kat is mostly doing okay, but her back still hurts. It's not, we didn't actually get any particular care for her back. She just had the acute issue dealt with at the time, and has been trying to exercise, been trying to get out and do stuff. We're hoping that today was actually going to have a little bit of adventure here in town. We wanted to go do some food, but we didn't really get a chance. I got a little bit busy with work. Not terrible. Today was actually pretty good overall for work. I had just a little bit of like meetings and things, and a few like just normal stuff in the office, and I got to spend a lot of the day actually working on video editing, which is great, because I've got a few things I want to get done, and I don't often get like these nice quiet days to really focus on some stuff, so that worked out great, and I'm really happy about that. So it's not very often that I get to report that I actually had some time and it went really well. But we were pretty nice and sunny in the morning. By about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we got torrential downpour, like really bad. And originally Yvonne and I were supposed to go out to dinner tonight after she had her salsa lesson, and we didn't get to because her salsa lesson got canceled. You wouldn't take a taxi out in that kind of rain and everything. It was just really rough, and you just kind of want to hide inside. Unfortunately, that was all my food plans for the day, so I had to do some creative stuff because there's very little food in the house. So I, for the first time ever, cooked my own quesadillas, and I must say they were not good. I don't know how I screwed up quesadillas, but I actually think I do know how, but they were not so good. I'm not a master of quesadillas. I will try again, but I don't know. I need to try some different things. I do need to find flour tortillas. Doing it with corn tortillas, I'm just not a fan of corn tortillas. Doing quesadillas with them doesn't make it necessarily better. It's just not my thing. Sorry, Nicaragua. I really like Mexican flour tortillas. And being from Texas, that's what we eat. Sorry. And for dinner, it was like cereal and makeshift. I just found some old sausage in the freezer and cooked that up, and did that. I did cook for the kids, however. So kind of ended up being kind of a slow, boring day. The girls wanted to do their own thing. They played Genshin Impact tonight, which I talked about the other day. I'm stressed out about it, and I can't do it. I can't do any more Genshin Impact. It's too much. But so today, what we did, and let's talk a little bit about let's talk about TVs. Let's do it. So here in Nicaragua, you are going to probably, if you're going to be living here, staying for any amount of time, you're going to want television, right? It's not like you completely give that up. You will probably want it a lot less than you want it when living in the States, simply because the lifestyle here is one where you tend, just because of society, to go outside a lot more. You tend to take the time to be outside, to do activities, to go out. Even if it's an indoor activity, you're much more likely to go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go to see live music, go dancing, maybe even go to a museum. All those things you're more likely to do than if you're in the United States. Of course, your mileage may vary. Every person's different. Some of you are going to be homebodies and you're going to want to move to Nicaragua. And when you get here, you're going to say, wow, I love this country, but I'd like to sit in my living room and watch television just like I did in the United States. That's okay. And we have basically all the same things, right? We have cable television with a lot of the same channels. I don't, but most people do. And we have Netflix, and we don't have Hulu. You can get a VPN for all those things, of course, but we have Netflix and we have Amazon Prime and we have services like that, so that's not a problem. You can do all those things. What we have done is, and this is worth noting because it's a surprise to us, we got a nice television, we put it in the living room, and realized pretty quickly that because of the incredible volume from the street, like the amount of street noise, the amount of people yelling, the amount of cars, because we do live on a busy street, not this one, and that created a situation where you couldn't hear anything in the house. And because everything's tile, right? As Americans, we're used to closed windows with carpeting and drapes. Here, it's open windows normally with tile floors and often no drapes, right? So the amount of echo, the amount of just intense sound inside your house can be much higher than you've ever experienced. And even talking inside the house is sometimes very difficult. So when we put a TV in the living room, we were like, this will be so nice. We got nice comfy couches, we got a nice coffee table, we got a beautiful TV, we got a beautiful TV stand. We were ready, and we could never use it because it's so loud. And it's not air conditioned, so that we could handle, right? But then you're adding a fan in most cases and more noise, right? Now we don't have an enclosed living room, ours is open, so it's a little bit more loud. But most of you, if you're moving to Nicaragua, that's what you're actually going to be dealing with, because that's what normal houses are like here. To have a completely enclosed house, of course that's an option, but it's not the majority option, right? And it's not traditional living here, so it's less likely to be something that you're going to want to do. Especially because when you realize what the weather's like, living in an open style house does make a lot more sense for a lot of reasons for most people. Not for everybody, but for most people. So we found that we moved our old TV from the hotel, because we had bought one there, and moved that into Dominica and my bedroom and mounted it on the wall, and that's pretty nice. We have air conditioning, we hooked the video games up in there, and the kids are coming in there and playing video games all the time, but that drives Dominica crazy because she has no space of her own, right? Because that's her bedroom. Right now, it's my bedroom too, but I also have an office, right? So during the day, I retreat to my office. If the kids are in the bedroom, they can be in there all day, and the kids and the dogs, they just camp out in there, do their thing. I don't notice, right? Because I'm in my office, which is tiny, and I do my own thing, right? So I have silence, I have my own space, I have my own organization, and I have a place to go think. And Dominica doesn't have that if the kids take over the room, and they've had nowhere to go because they want to play video games, and you couldn't do it in the living room because you could not hear it. You couldn't even talk to each other. You couldn't do anything, right? So, and even with headphones, you couldn't. It's so loud. So today we had someone come up from the hotel, take the television, move it into the kids' bedroom, the one from the living room, move it into the kids' bedroom and mount it on the wall in Liesel's room, because they actually have 2 separate rooms, but they have a shared door, so they were able to open it up, and they kind of treat it with one room, and the cat runs back and forth all throughout the day. But it's actually 2 rooms, and they can shut the door and have their own spaces. But only Liesel's has the air conditioner, so they really don't want to do that most of the time, and they're fine. They've always shared a room in the past, or they have for a very long time. When they were very little, they actually had separate rooms, but it was only until 2013. So Luciana was only 2 when they started sharing a room. And so they're really fine sharing a space most of the time, but this is actually pretty nice that they now have 2 separate rooms. I'm actually going to turn around so you guys can see what's going on at the soccer area, right? And I just realized that I have the brightness cranked up because I was trying to film under different conditions. So this may not look the best on today's video, and I apologize for that. That is totally on me, but I don't want to redo the video. I will do my best to correct it. But yeah, I need to remember when I modify the GoPro that sometimes I change the brightness for conditions and forget what I did. Maybe it looks good. We'll see what it looks like on the big screen. Looking at it on the monitor right now, I'm realizing I am seriously blown out. Okay, so so this is actually quite nice for them that they have 2 rooms. They have their own spaces, they have their own beds, they normally have their own beds. They have their own desks, they have their own computer spaces, they have all those things separate, and just a door in between them that they share so they can go back and forth when that's what they want to do. So that, I think, is a really nice enhancement for them. And since they haven't had that in the past, they're pretty happy with it. And I think it works out pretty well. I guess when I turn around this way, like, the brightness is good. I don't know. It's hard to say. I should play with this a little bit more. I never really looked. So this is cranked pretty high up, and it's because I was recording in really, really dark, where I was too dark and everything else was bright, and I had to convince it to bring me up. Anyway, and I'm going to turn around because there's a beautiful, beautiful courtyard in the school here, and I'll get some of that. I'm just getting some. This is all near my house, right? But things you don't necessarily see too much. So we have appreciated having a few televisions, but the challenges of having a television with the noise and placement and air conditioning, because if you put it in the living room, you're probably just going to be sweating. It's going to be hot. You have to kind of think about it differently in a lot of ways. So you need to think differently about the TV you will buy, because you probably want something that's smaller, more energy efficient, just because TVs are not terrible expensive here, but they are more expensive than in the US, and your selection is much lower. You probably are going to use primarily Netflix and services like that. You may want to use a VPN, so be aware that some TVs like an LG do not really support that, but others do, or you could add on something like an Apple TV or an Android TV, or Chromecast or something like that, Fire Stick, one of those kinds of things. That would be highly recommended. We're using the built-in on the TVs, and for the most part that works, but your mileage will vary. The LGs do not have VPN, so if you want that you're not going to get that with that, right? We do a lot of YouTube, so it doesn't really matter, and YouTube and Netflix work pretty well without a VPN, and you get better results from a performance perspective that way, because the VPNs do introduce some latency and sometimes a bandwidth constraint, but think about what it is you're going to want. But chances are you're going to want fewer TVs, you're going to want them in different places, and you may not even want one, right? I mean, chances are you are, but it's a possibility. The lifestyle change here is so dramatic. For us, if we didn't have the kids, we may not want a TV. I think we probably would, but we would just have one. It would be in a bedroom, and that would be it. It really is the amount that we go to watch TV. When we lived in the US, it was, you just always turned on the TV. Like, what are you doing at night? You get to the house, you have some time, you sit down on the couch, it's comfy, you kick off your shoes, you put your feet up, and you watch TV. It's what you do. It was so convenient. Here, the ability to just step out the door and go do things, the ability to go visit people, the ability to just have more to do is so much better that the desire to watch TV, I feel, is greatly diminished. And everyone you talk to doesn't watch TV much either, so it's a really consistent thing of TV's just not something you really do, it's nice. I love it, but especially with kids, we don't want to completely give it up, and we do a lot of YouTube stuff. And as you know, I'm a YouTuber, so I like being able to watch my own show, and I certainly don't want to discourage you guys from watching these shows. So definitely get a TV so you can watch the Scott Alan Miller vlog. And we finally have the show up. So I'm going to announce today that we now have the Loaf Gaming. This is Lisa Luciana and my gaming channel. We managed to get 4 episodes out at this point. Hopefully we will get more by the time you're seeing this, at least to get them in the pipeline. We started playing the game Uninvited from 1986, which I talked about a bit. It's not a very polished channel. I would appreciate feedback. I'd really appreciate if you guys subscribed and watched and gave it a chance, and you know, even if you just leave it playing in the background. But I think it's kind of interesting because it's me and my daughters hanging out. You don't see us, you just see the game. We record the game that we're playing, and it's a really old one, right? 1986, but it's kind of interesting. It's interesting from a gaming historical perspective, and then we just banter as we play, right? And sometimes it gets pretty boring, and sometimes you just get Lisa laughing, and it is the most fun thing, and she's just cackling away at something funny that Luciana did. And we're trying to figure it out, and we're going to get better and better, and we're going to get a variety of games, right? But we wanted to give it a try. We've been talking about doing this for so long. So it's Loaf Gaming, and my daughters made the artwork for the show with the actual anthropomorphized loaf of bread, and that's, yeah, and they named it, and it should be cool. So please go check that out. Also, in the past week, I got a Drive Warp up, and I got a Take Flight with Scott up. So if you haven't checked those out, I've got a lot of my channels have been busy. Please go give them some love. Some likes and subscribes over on those channels will help me out a lot, because all of them are trying to get going. This is my big one that's busy. Actually, I have a much busier one that's work related, but this one is really kind of getting the ball rolling, and I really appreciate it. So it's kind of a rambling discussion about television and media here, but I think you really want to think, one, you probably want to have something like a Fire Stick, or for me, I like the Apple TV, even though it's bigger. It's a nice, powerful unit, and it's got a few video games on it. So that's what I want to have currently. I've had it in the past. I don't have a current one. I want to get a new one. You probably want to really think of reducing your television usage, or plan to seriously reduce your television usage in most cases. You know yourself best, but most of you, I think, will get here and go, wow, television is not the thing I need to do. There is so much, and it's so cheap, right? That's a big piece of it, is the ability to go out to dinner, the ability to go outside and do things, the ability to go sit in the park and hang out and watch a game is so good that you're probably in many, many cases going to want to do those things. Even if the only thing you're doing is going for a walk, there is so much life outside that you're gonna want to consider doing that in many cases, other than watching TV, instead of watching TV. And having your life designed around the ability to simply step out the door and go be a part of your community is such a different experience, and so valuable here, that I recommend really planning for that. And if you're here, taking advantage of that. I also want to show, just sometimes I show them the sellers sitting along the sidewalk. They just have like baskets of goods, and they're selling candy and snacks and different things, mostly for the people hanging out at the church watching the soccer game. I'm Scott L. Miller. Thanks for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe, but put your comments below, and I will see all of you tomorrow.